G'day guys, Charles20 here and welcome back to Springwood. Today's episode we're going to be finishing off the port, and man oh man do I finish it off bloody well. It's a real cracker, and I definitely encourage you to stick around to the end of the episode where I'll be really showcasing it with some sweet cinematics. This time LUTs and live play. It's basically, well, I pretty much just said it. It's broken up with a live play. I'm going to be going into some live moments around the 9-minute mark, and it's pretty much sandwiched between two time lapses. But yeah, I mean, let's get straight into the episode. If you did not see the last episode or you want a bit of a recap, I was basically working on this pretty large port that's going to be, basically servicing the entire, import-export of Springwood. And I mean, yeah, it's really big and it's nowhere near finished, and it's nowhere near going to be the only one in Springwood. And as you can tell, it's just giant and it's really far out of the actual city of Springwood. And, I think that's really cool. And it kind of like flows in, as you can see that bridge over there that kind of leads onto the main area of downtown Springwood. It's really, it really like filters into the other industrial areas that we've been working on. So something I spoke about a bit in the previous episode was the kind of nature of Springwood of this series is that I'm trying to build quite a lot of realism within this city, but mostly not like, I mean, there is a lot of detail in the work that I do in Springwood, but at the heart and center of every episode, I'm really trying to build a giant city that feels realistic and has a bit of character and atmosphere. And, the way I'm trying to achieve that is I'm trying to really use the flow of the way like cities are structured. For instance, the downtown is mostly full of old, kind of older building, mostly commercial, and, probably was once a bit of an industrial hub. So, you can kind of imagine from the downtown Springwood to be mostly, in terms of industrial, mostly abandoned or refurbished into, trendy lofts and stuff like that. And a lot of the other industrial areas are kind of now being pushed out to the outskirts. So in the next, quite a lot of the next few episodes, there's going to be quite a big focus on industrial, because we are working on the outer suburbs of Springwood, which is pretty exciting. So if you're wondering what I'm working on right now, because it is a little bit strange, basically I've been looking at a lot of images of docks around the Los Angeles region, mostly ports, LA, and what I've noticed is that they kind of have this area where trucks bring in cargo from the city or from the outer areas of the city, and they unload or they load their cargo via these truck stop sort of cargo areas. I've been kind of doing a bit of research on how these ports work, because I did want it to resemble a bit of realism, and it was just killer, because there's just so much detail that I need to go into and so much I didn't even really consider. And whenever I start thinking about what I need to build, I realize that I never really have enough room to really build what I want to build, accurately. And, as soon as you start building things giant, then you just take up more room, and the more room means longer episodes and harder to build. And it just becomes a bit of a mess. So, what I'm going to talk about a bit in the live play is, this is kind of like the dulled down version of what it really would look like. Usually these areas for the trucks would be a lot bigger, and they'd probably have an area for export and import. I really only have just the one, just as a bit of a representation of what it looks like, and a bit of a taste of what it would look like. And it was actually a lot of fun to build, and it added a lot of realism to this area. So something that I've done to work on to create the realism in this for this truck docking area is I've used highways, because the highways don't have any, they're not like sunken into the ground, which was something that I didn't really want. I didn't want the road to be sunken in. And I could have actually used the ploppable asphalt mod, but that is... The problem with doing that is that it's just a lot of plopping down when I could actually just use a highway. So, you know, the pros of it is it saved a lot of props that I've obviously not had to plop down, and it's quite, you know, and I can manipulate it pretty well, just dragging down a road, which really helps out. I guess the cons are, you know, trucks do just drive down here at like ridiculous speeds because I can't really control the speed of anything, or I can't, you know, I'm basically not using traffic precedents because, you know, I'm already rocking tons of mods and I try to not rock too many. But I mean, in terms of realism, I think it turned out pretty nicely, and you'll see shortly in the live play where I go into a little bit more detail on all that. And yeah, so basically I'm just working on a couple of different sheds and kind of like office spaces that would serve these dockyards, and you know, a couple of them are vanilla, some of them are ones that I've downloaded from the workshop. By the way, I've been playing Springwood for the, you know, since the Greens update. I mean, I'm not going to get the actual expansion pack because it's got nothing new for me. It doesn't really, like, nothing interests me. Part of, you know, it does nothing for me. Particularly when you just get brilliant mods and assets, you know, from all the workshop and asset creators. So yeah, I'm definitely not getting that, but I'm still able to play it. My game didn't crash because I was quick enough to turn my game to offline. The only problem with that is I haven't been able to build in any of my other series. As you can tell, that's Osara's postponed, and I did plan to build in City Skylines Down Under, my other series based in Australia, but I wasn't able to do that either because I'm too afraid to switch accounts and yeah, just in case I might have to download some more stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna stay offline until it's all fixed and all mods are back up to date. What I'm doing right now is I'm copying and pasting. It's just the best trick. So, you know, I've obviously already built you know, what I want these dockyards to look like with all these crates. There's no point rebuilding it, especially when there's a perfectly good one that I've built just not long ago. So I'm just copying and pasting it using Move It and, you know, just shuffling it up, making it so it looks a little bit different. And something that's really cool, like, that I started doing was to plop down all these crates just along the edge of the dock. And, you know, what I think is really cool about this is it kind of just hides that break between the dock and the concrete there. You know, I could kind of hide it with more decals, but, you know, these crates, these containers look pretty good. But hey, that's actually been pretty much 9 minutes. We're going to head off into a live play just in a sec, where I'll be explaining a bit of the idea behind this dock and some tips and tricks of things that I usually do when I do some detailing. So this is the build so far, and it's totally not complete. There's quite a lot of different things I want to do extra on this little area. And like I say in the time lapse just earlier, this is like the dulled down version of what I was really going for. What the area would really look like in real life. So I mean, if you're working in a place like this and you're looking at this and you're thinking, I've missed tons of bits of detail. Well, yeah, totally have. But as far as I'm going to kind of delve into, this is about as good as it gets. But, you know, in a nutshell, how this area works is trucks would come in from these exits here. Oh, look, we have one just doing its own thing there. But yeah, they come in through these exits around here from the city. I mean, we have vehicles coming from the airport over around here, and Springwood, the main town of Springwood, is like around this area. So, you know, this is quite in terms of access, this is a really great access for industry and exporting goods. So trucks would kind of hit this area, and it's going to be really cool when I actually see some trucks coming through here, because I think that's going to look really good. But yeah, they're going to come around here, and basically unload their cargo around like in this sort of area here. And as far as what I can tell from Google Images, this is the sort of place where trucks would come and unload their cargo. I don't think that these would probably be the things that take the crates off the trucks. Like, who knows? I'm not sure if it's like a different sort of system, but I just stuck them there just for the time being. And yeah, so they basically unload and then they drive around here and off they go. And I'd imagine that this is quite a quick process. Their stay within this area is pretty short. And like using these highways worked really well, and it meant that I can actually achieve the look of a different texture, different tone of concrete without having to plop down tons of different decals. And like, I think that's worked really well, but it's definitely not finished. I mean, there's quite a lot. In terms of the actual dock, this area is probably now going to serve as the loading area for this side of the dock, and then over around here would act as kind of like the office space for this area of the dock. So I mean, if you can imagine, the dock is kind of split off into two areas. This is one area with its own train line that I will be detailing pretty shortly, and then over here we're going to have the train line that's going to serve this side of the dock. So trying to stick with a bit of realism, but at the same time, like I probably say in the time lapse, I have no idea what I say in the time lapse. I haven't recorded it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to talk about how it's definitely not 100% realistic. Couple of things I'm going to add to this area now in a bit of a live play is I need to add some barriers to guide the trucks through this area here. So, and I'm going to use these barriers because I think, looking at the images on Google Earth, looks like this is used quite a lot. Like every now and again, there's just a couple of things that just add tons of detail. And, I think that this is just one of those props that just adds heaps of detail. All right, so that bit's done. I've just added this little keep clear section here just to add a little bit more detail. But to be honest, I'm not going to go into too much more detail in this little area. It could definitely use more detail, but I'm just not going to. I can't. I've spoken about this quite a lot. In Springwood, I just really can't go into like huge amounts of detail as I probably would in some areas. So I'm just going to leave this area how it is for now. And I might move into this little area here because there's quite... Whoa. What the hell are you doing? Yeah, so I'm going to add a couple more details around here because I think that'll look pretty cool. I'm going to detail a little bit more with some decals. But before I do, I'm just going to add some bits and pieces into this spot here. Now I'm going to actually just put some more crates, some more containers in there. And to save the trouble dragging more of them using the prop line tool, I'm just going to select these ones that I've already placed down in a line that I think is, pretty much exactly what I need. And I'm just going to plop it down just like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then I'm going to grab these ones too. If it does look a bit repetitive, I can go through and just change it. Just a little bit different, which works totally well. And it really fills in that gap. I mean, considering you have to detail so much, I think that makes a lot of sense. So now I'm actually going to work on some decals in this area because I think we're probably ready just to detail this one area. Now I'm going to use this decal that's a really big one. It's if I just search for it, I can find something like this that I think's going to, if I use that in the dirt part, the dirtiest part to kind of paint down next to the road, it looks like the road is being used. Actually, maybe I won't do it like this. When detailing such a huge area like this, I think it's important not to go too overboard. That's something that I keep on telling myself. Because I just detail way too much, and then I just never finish anything. And then, you know, you wait just so long for an episode from me of Springwood, and it's because I'm just too pedantic about how I want this one area to actually look. But if I actually just do it and not think about it too much, then you know, you don't even notice the little details that I put in there. Well, I don't know, maybe you do. Please let me know if you do really notice all those little bits and pieces that I do add. You'll be surprised. There are quite a lot that I do add, and I reckon nobody even notices. But hey, I notice, and that's the main thing, I guess. I'm gonna add a couple of scuff marks from where they've dragged a couple of those around. And I'm thinking for these areas, I wouldn't mind making it look more like a road, because it's just a little bit, it just doesn't look that convincing to me at the moment that it's a road, and that, well, not a road, but a path that is used by vehicles transporting crates all around this dock. So I think I might actually add a couple of decals. What's that one called? If I search for asphalt, I can pick up some of these and just paint a couple of little differences. Alright, so now I've plopped down a lot more detail in this area, and as you can tell, it looks way better. Some things that I added that I wasn't really adding before were these tire marks that I think adds probably the most amount of detail. I think like the fact that they're kind of going in every direction actually adds a lot of detail, whereas, you know, I was using a lot of these dirt line things, I guess, and I don't know, they kind of like felt like they went in different like the same direction, and I think that created a bit of a, I don't know, unrealistic look. Whereas using it with these tire marks actually just adds kind of like the look of, you know, trucks have been driving around in these areas, picking up all these different containers. Also, like these puddle marks, they're actually like a pretty old decal now, but they're still super useful. Just by the way, how sweet does that underwater little scene look just there? I'm super happy with how that turned out. But yeah, a couple of other little things that I added. Like these airport lights add tons of detail. You know, like I said before, it's just the little things that add so much. Tire marks, those airport lights, plus like just like the odd little thing here or there. You know, these crate carrying trucks just parked in different locations. I do kind of want a couple more trucks scattered around this area. I feel like it's lacking a bit of atmosphere. And we do need, I mean, here comes one now. He's going to do a bit of a funny, yep, down he goes. You know, we need some more traffic coming in to actually use these areas. I'm actually pretty happy that they're even using this road in the first place, because it is a highway. I kind of expected nobody to be using this, and you know, there actually are, which is really cool. I guess, you know, these industrial buildings needs to have some trucks coming to make deliveries, so you know that works pretty well. So yeah, I mean, this area turned out really good. Like, now that I've got the formula, and you know, I guess I really needed to find the formula of how I'm going to detail this whole dock area. I can actually start getting into the detailing of the rest of it, which I'm going to do right now. So yeah, as past me was talking about how it's really important to figure out the formula of how you're going to detail an area as big as a dock. It makes it a lot easier to detail the rest of it. Because I am basically using the same formula throughout the entire place. It is something that really annoys me with the way I build is, and I'm sure like a lot of other builders probably have the same feeling, is, so like I'd build a giant dock like this, and you know, by the end of building it, I kind of feel like the master of building a dock. And the most sensible thing to probably do is to then build another dock. But instead I usually totally build something completely different, like a university or a high school. You know, like if only I just like stuck with what I just built, then I might actually be able to get the city done a lot quicker than I would if I didn't go off tangent all the time. But, you know, in classic me style, you know, as soon as I build and finish this, I get pretty worn out and don't want to build another dock forever. So, you know, don't expect a dock in the next episode. I'll be definitely doing something different. I actually really need to stop referring to this build as a dock, because it's not really a dock, it's more of a port. Like, I'm not sure if they're technically the same thing or if they're different things, but, you know, in my mind it is more of a port. So, you know, stop saying dock, you bloody idiot. What I'm working on at the moment is just adding in some decals to just put a bit of difference in some of these areas. And something like a little trick that I'm going to do is, you know, I'm probably going to detail 80% of this dock, and there's actually just another section that you'll see in the cinematics towards the end where I detail it like barely anything. There's like nothing special going on there. And the reason why is because that's just like an area that's just hidden in the background. It's not really going to receive the same attention as this area will. I mean, like I spoke about this in the very beginning of the episodes, that, you know, the whole idea of Springwood is to build a giant city, and you know, if I'm going to build a giant city, I'm going to have to build a big dock, a big port, and if I'm going to build a big port, then it's going to be impossible to detail everything just like I'm doing. And who knows how close I am to the prop limit. I know a lot of other people have gone over the prop limit, and their cities are far smaller than mine. You know, I'm being pretty careful with my props, even though you're probably thinking I'm a crazy person, because I've just plopped a whole bunch of different props. So I must be getting close, but I do have a couple of tricks that I'm going to do just to save a bit of space, and to, you know, make sure that I can actually keep on detailing with the same level of detail that I am right now. But I'm yet to have to do anything like that. Also, you're probably wondering how I was able to do a live play just a moment ago with such a enormous city and with such amount of detail. You're probably wondering if I've got a monster computer or not. Like, not really. I'm yet to post anything about my computer, purely because I can't be bothered. I am sorry about that, but like, I'd rather be building in Springwood than, you know, putting together a list of things. But like, I have a pretty good computer, but it's definitely not a monster. You just gotta kind of you gotta be clever with how you build your city, I think, and how you you know, record things. I was, you know, if I was to like look towards the actual downtown of Springwood, like the game would pretty much not crash, but, you know, the frames would be just pretty damn slow. Whereas just looking at the ground at one particular area really does not affect the performance that much, which is something that's really, really cool, because you know, I really love like live plays, and when I was detailing the downtown, oh man, like 15 episodes ago, it was just so laggy, and I was just going, oh man, there's no way I'm going to be able to deliver the Springwood experience that I've been promising for so long. And then I kind of moved out of the city and worked on a couple of other areas like this and the hills and, you know, etc. And the frame rate's just been beautiful. So like, I think it crashes when there's huge amounts of detail, and then it's pretty stable when there's, you know, when you're out of that city. plus I think the general game stimulation is really draining on the city, on your computer. Yeah. So, you know, that's something just to kind of think about. You know, maybe limit the amount of cars that are driving around, or, you know, have a go at building some of the outer skirts of your city. Because I can assure you it's going to be much better than just going full detail in the downtown area. That's just something that I've noticed. Right now, I mean, we're getting pretty close to the end of the episode, and I'm just working on something, probably one of my favorite parts of this build. I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to use it in the thumbnail or not. It's still the question mark, I guess you'll know. But yeah, this is the area where the trains will be bringing in a lot of the freight into this area. Again, lots of import exports coming in from this, coming in from the city and coming in from the port. And the way this sort of area works, well, you know, I'm basing it off this area, this cargo area, this port in Port Los Angeles, I guess. And you know, like I'm pretty much following it, you know, step by step, and you know, putting my own little spin on it. And as far as I'm aware, they have this like area where trucks can kind of come in and take the goods off the train, and then they bring it into the port. And so like it needs to, so you know, as you can see, I got rid of a lot of that track work by using the ploppable asphalt mod just to hide those. And you know, the rails by themselves look pretty cool. Add a couple of decals towards the end that really make it look cool. So yeah, I mean, it turned out really nice. And you know, there's a couple of them. So there's one here that's kind of servicing this side of the port, and then there's one that you won't see me build, but you'll see it in the cinematics. There's another one that I built just around the corner that's servicing the other side of the port. In the next episode, man, that's going to be a damn good one. It's I'm detailing a couple of the areas around here, putting in some suburbs and some marinas, because you know, this is a sort of area where you'd, you know, get a lot of marinas, definitely taking advantage of some of the old ports that probably lived around here and now kind of being more gentrified and changed up a bit. But guys, I mean, that's pretty much it for this episode. Thanks a bunch for tuning in. It's yeah, it's been a really fun one. I'm really enjoying working in these outer regions of Springwood. Definitely loving the smooth, silky smooth frame rates, which, you know, definitely won't last if I'm gonna be detailing things like as much as I am. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video if you haven't already, and if you have enjoyed it, that definitely helps out a lot. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya.